move on to talking about assignments and graded work, I want to take a second and talk about the Class Drive folder. So the Class Drive folder in your Google Classroom is very different from a normal Google Drive folder. We think of a normal Google Drive folder as being a place we can store files, and anyone we've shared the folder with has access to those files when we put them in there. The Google Classroom Drive folder does not work that way. In fact, every person in your class has a version of the Class Drive folder unique to them. So your Class Drive folder is separate from the Class Drive folder of each of your students. Each student has a unique Class Drive folder. And if you put things in your Class Drive folder, simply dropping them in there does not share them with your students. The way to share resources with your students is to post them on the classwork page of your Google Classroom, not to put them in the Class Drive folder. So let's look at what's in your Class Drive folder. So in your folder there are template versions of your assignments. There are archived student work, notes, and other items you use for class, but don't want students to be able to access. Again, this is a point of confusion for many professors. The Class Drive folder is not the way to share things with your students. In your students' version of the Class Drive, they have individual versions of assignments. So what we talked about in the last video, like readings, slides, etc., anything that you marked, share, make a copy for individual students when you were adding it to an assignment. When you pick that option, the student automatically receives their own copy with their name added to the title in their Class Drive folder. So let's have a look at this in our demo classroom. So here's my demo classroom. I'm on the classwork page, and you'll see up here next to Google Calendar, which you've already talked about, there's a Class Drive folder. So let's click on this and have a look what's in my Class Drive folder. When I click this, it opens my Google Drive. This is my school email Google Drive. And you can see that a folder has automatically been created by Google Classroom when I click that button. It's a folder called Classroom, and it's created this specific class. It says Google Drive Class Template. And inside there, you'll see for every assignment that I've created, there's a folder of individual student versions of that assignment. So these are not things that I am sharing with students. These are actually the building blocks that make up the various things that I've posted on my classwork page. When I post them, the templates for the items that I post appear in my Class Drive folder. So what happens for students? I've actually pulled up a student version of this same test Google Classroom. So let's see what it looks like from their end. Here's a student page. If I go to their Class Drive folder and see their page looks very similar to mine with a couple differences. If I open the students version of the Class Drive folder, you will see there is their individual version of everything I've posted, so that they can edit these things, they can take notes on them, they can do with it what they want, and it doesn't change the template version. Each student gets their own. So let's watch what happens when we add a new assignment. To add an assignment, I'm going to click Create, Assignment, and say I want to post a reading. We'll just call it Test Reading so we know what we're looking at. I'm going to add something from my Google Drive. And let's go ahead and add this fourth reading. Say we want to add that. Click Add. It's on there. Students can view file. I'm going to drop that down and pick Make a Copy for each student. This is the option that causes this PDF to appear in their Google Drive. So when you pick this, When you give students their own versions of things, it makes it very easy for them to download that item or print that item from their Google Drive, whereas simply putting it as students can view file, it's much more difficult for students to download or print or gain access to your files. So I'm going to make a copy for each student. I do this for virtually everything I post for students. This is ungraded, it's just a reading. And let's say it's due the 14th. We're not going to give it a topic. It'll just appear at the top of the page if I don't give it a topic. So I'm going to assign it. We've just posted test reading with this fourthreading.pdf. If I look in my Google Drive folder, I'm going to refresh so it shows up. Not seeing anything. Let's go ahead and open it again. See what we get. You can see that test reading has appeared. If I go to my students, class drive folder, you can see that the newest item I've just posted, fourthreading.pdf, has appeared with the student's name appended to it. So this student now has their own copy of this reading to take notes on. That's it for the class drive folder. The big thing is just to remember that posting in the class drive folder does not share an item with your students. The way to share items with your students is to use the Create button to create different resources on your classwork page.